Guys, I want to take a second coming off of Robert Saleh speaking there to just give Saleh his just credit right now for what he and the coaching staff have clearly built over there. In game today, obviously just out-coaching and out-scheming an Eagles team without, again, I mean, we keep hitting on this point, but you have to keep hitting on this point without Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. But in more of a macro sense, the amount of adversity that they've had to bounce back from in the season, in games, the resilience that they've shown is just, I mean, that to me speaks to the coaching staff and the belief that they've instilled in the group.
100%. We sat up here time after time, was scratching our heads. Why is Zach Wilson the starting quarterback for the Jets, right? Even after Aaron Rodgers went down. But yet there was that belief in that coming out of that building along Robert Saleh said, hey, man, we have somebody that we believe in. It's just a matter of time. And then it took to the Kansas City game, and then the Broncos game said, oh, okay, maybe you're right. Even today, he played efficient, but he wasn't great. There's still going to be times during this season where Zach Wilson's going to have to win a football game for the New York Jets. The defense played amazing. We're not going to take nothing away from that. But there's too many weapons on the offensive side for the New York Jets that we just haven't seen coming to fruition. Valley, we got Breece Hall, we got Garrett Wilson, we got a young tight end in Ruckert. But at the end of the day, man, when you start playing big ball football late in the season, you need playmakers to make plays, and it starts with the quarterback. So hopefully Zach Wilson can speed it up along. I think he took care of the football. He was looking more competent like we've been seeing the last couple of weeks. But big-time quarterbacks, big-time plays, and big moments. We haven't seen that out of Zach Wilson yet.
I mean, just to me, salute to the program. Like, me and you come from two programs.
Yep.
Pittsburgh and Baltimore, where it just seems like they just reload. And you have to give them credit for James today, right? Because that doesn't come without preparing, your young players. You have to give them credit for Bryce Huff, of course. And remember, rewarding a guy like Xavier Gibson, right, who, was the last man to make the roster, and he's affected the game. He's affected the winning and the losing. You also got to tip your hat about Tony Adams, right? Because he was a guy that they put up, they brought Chuck Clark in. Chuck Clark goes down. I think we kind of forget that Chuck Clark was a huge loss for them.
Huge loss.
Anybody that's in Baltimore knows how good he is as a player. And just to continue to just coach guys up. And we hear everybody else making excuses, right? We hear, oh, well, Christian McCaffrey went down, and then maybe that's why they lost to Cleveland. But the Jets don't complain about losing the best quarterback in this generation. They don't complain about losing AVT. They just keep going, right? So you have to give them credit because they're used to dealing with adversity, and they don't make excuses. And I think that comes from the top down. And they say whoever we put out there, we've taught you what our techniques are. We told you what we want you to do, and we expect you to go out there and execute. I don't care. Like, this dude's on A.J. Brown by himself, man.
Right.
I'm looking like, where the hell is the safety?
Yeah, he's screaming it all day.
And it's like he's scrapping. Like, he's giving some, he's taking some. But I think when you talk about what happened today, it's an example of them believing in who they were and what the plan was, and they kept executing. Because I feel like Philadelphia got lazy, right? Because they had him spread out, and it was working. Jalen Hurts, if he don't see anything, he takes off killing with the legs, or Swift on angle routes and shots and spread them out. And they just got bored because I feel like they expected it to be easier. They expected us like, no, we're supposed to score faster. So instead of just going down and death by 1,000 paper cuts, and then eventually that compound interest comes up, you look up and you're up 23-3 or something like that. They got greedy. Let's take a shot. Yep. Oh, interception. Oh, let's go. Let's try and fit a ball in here because they couldn't believe that these corners were holding up.
Yeah.
They like, who is this Bryce Hall guy, right? And so you talk about believing in who you are, what the game plan is, and the scouting, and eventually if you just keep executing, they'll throw you one. Let's not give up the big one. 19-play drive. They still had opportunities. I still don't think that Hurts got in. But this is an example of believing in what you're teaching your guys and believing that nobody can continuously go down 10, 12-play drives on these guys without having a false start. And listen, when Lane Johnson, let's be honest, when Lane Johnson went down, game changer. Because all that pressure that Huff got, we believe that Lane Johnson not being there, that wouldn't happen. But listen,
that's the game.
We lost Tittman.
That's the game.
That's football, right? So once again, we go back to the depth of this team, and you always have to go back to Joe Douglas because he's brought players in and developed depth.
I think what you're seeing for the first time since maybe Rex was here to an extent, roster-wide, right? Like Bowles was good with certain positions and things like that, but roster-wide is player development in a system.
Yeah.
And they are drafting guys with the plan, right? That's what I see with this team is that, and it's not just anybody can draft Garrett Wilson and he's a star. Same for Breece Hall. I'm talking about the undrafted free agents, the day 3 players. The Irvin Charles of the world. Nobody knew who he was the first time he was active. Now he's a special teams ace the week after they lose Justin Hardy to a hamstring injury. That to me, and that's when we say Saleh, because Saleh is the guy that puts this staff in place. We mean the entire staff.
Yeah.
They're setting guys up for success, but they're most importantly setting up the depth for success. They're not saying, oh, we lose this guy, our scheme's doomed.
Right.
That's
when Lawson's gone, they've already drafted his replacement and found his other replacement. So, like, you got the start.
Rookie camp.
That's going to be a start, and you already have McDonald already in place, ready to develop and get better. And if he can take the same step that Jermaine Johnson did, then now you just got cheap defensive pass rushers for cheap that allows you to go spend money in other places.
And I'll just say this. I've been watching this team. I've been watching this franchise for 3 decades.
Wow.
95% of the time.
That's where all them gray hairs came from, watching them.
Oh, yeah.
Stressed out.
95% of the time, the Jets lose a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, season over. The Jets give up a 19-play drive where they stop a team like the Philadelphia Eagles at the goal line, and then it gets overturned, and that's a touchdown, game over. Season's not over. Game wasn't over today. This is a different group. Credit to Robert Saleh. Credit to Joe Douglas.